action.
I'm Guo Yukuan. Guo is my family name. I'm very lucky to be selected as the first cohort of India and China Institute's fellowship. That gives me a lot of opportunity to learn some information in China we are difficult to get. I'm very grateful. Okay?
Information on India from China. You mean it's difficult? Can you explain a little bit more about that? It's difficult to obtain information of India.
Yeah.
What are the kinds of impression people have of India that you would like to investigate some more?
Okay. Before this opportunity, I'm very curious about what we have learned in China's mainstream media. The most best-selling newspaper about global news is Global Times. That is run by People's Daily. So the traditional way to talk about India is to say it's a so-called democratic country, but people lives very bad, and they are poor, and they have conflicts, and they have murderers, rapes. That makes me curious. I don't get used to believe what our media said, and I want to find why. Why is this big country and similar population people can be something so-called democratic? Then this is a big question. And after that, through discussing with our colleagues, especially Indian colleagues, then we can develop some more detailed question. And also I have wrote some articles about India that we can say is quite popular in China, what I have wrote. Some people, friends told me, oh, you tell us new India. That makes me happy.
And before that, you never traveled to India before?
Yeah, of course.
What were your first impressions?
First impression is about our Indian fellows, not about India. About our Indian fellows, first time we meet in New York, and they are very good at talk. They are argumentative, and they have a very strong personal inclination, and so that gives me an impression that to understand Indian and China's different model, we first should understand the difference between Chinese and Indian people. During the first seminar, just in this building, I have give a presentation that you know Ashok. Ashok keeps telling us you should cooperate and work hard, but our tradition is different. I said that it's joking, but I think it's reflects something true, that Indian fellows could not quite understand what hard working means, and for our Chinese fellows, we could not quite understand what cooperation means. That's cultural difference.
And everybody thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
Because you thought it was partly true.
Yeah.
And after 2 years of having done this India-China fellowship and 3 residencies, and coming back now for the 4th time, what are some of the things that you would say to cohort 2 fellows now, having gone through it?
I have write a very long article about how Chinese and Indian intellectuals misunderstand each other. Sometimes even some lesson I have learned through this communication that even our Indians, Chinese, and Americans are all use English and use same words, but in fact we are not talking about the same thing. Our experience, our angle of observing things that make us understand something differently. So my suggestion is in my article that first, being sincere, second, being smart. You must make sure you understand the others, what they are talking. The lesson I learned is that at first we all want to tell other people what we are, our thoughts, but that's not quite a successful experience.
You want them to understand each other by being understanding, even just using the same language, or at least knowing what the terms are.
In fact, what I find is that we cannot use the same language. That is, I explained, it's because of experience. Because when we talk about socialism, such a word, socialism, we both use the same word, socialism. But in China, we have a lot of imagination or memories about socialism. That's maybe some bad memory or some. But for Indians, the same word socialism may brought them some very good memories. So it's just like I have can set an example that when we talk about wines, if you have not tasted that wine, you cannot explain that by language.
And after 3 residencies, you feel like that is the most important thing that we should tell the new fellows about knowing the terms, experiencing.
Yeah. I think experience and some real questions, real issues are more important than those theories and some isms, some like socialism, liberalism. Some of our friends, I have the experience when we go around and see something, they will say, "Oh, that is, I hate globalization. I hate market economy." But I think that's a bad habit. If you didn't try to understand how globalization works in this issue, what it means in this context, that kind of argument does not make sense. But in our first this residency, I find lots of our time wasted in this kind of argument.
Of just in terms of the battling words and not even knowing exactly, not digging deeper into the issue.
Yeah.
And in terms of the way India-China Fellowship has changed the way you approach not just India but also in your profession, do you find coming back to after you've gone back to China, your experience in India has changed the way you look at China?
Yeah, of course. Makes my observation on China, I think I can say, more sophisticated. That in China is not a quite open country compared with India, of course, United States. So it's like a people, if you never have the experience to look into the mirror, you cannot understand yourself. Even you live with yourself every day. But India is, I think, quite a good mirror for China. Seeing a very similar cultural background, population, and Eastern country. And when we see those Indian fellows, our colleagues, argue about something, in our eyes, sometimes we will think, what they are arguing about? That seems ridiculous. But when you retrospect about that, you will find ourselves sometimes is as ridiculous as that. So that's a good experience.
Of looking back into yourself, because they reflect something of you, of what you think. What about the differences between India and China? You know, do you find there more similarities or do you find there more differences?
It's a big question. I think both. I think as much similarity as difference in every way.
In terms of urbanization and globalization, for example?
Yeah. That is a common issue. But when we talk about our cultural background, personalities, I said it's just like wine. They have hundreds of wines. When you taste it, you can tell the difference.
And what about in the future, what would you do if you had the chance to go back to India? Or do you already have plans to go back to India?
Yeah, except for the new school arranged residency, I have just, I think, 3 months before I go to India to attend another seminar and spend about 2 weeks there. I think that I have some links now with India that will develop even after this fellowship. That's definitely.
The networks, you mean? So that what the fellowship had done for you is to give you more networks and contacts?
Yeah, the fellowship opens the door, and you enter the door. You have the room key. You can find what you want if you have your view, right?
Your view, right?
View,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, what kind of views should people have? What kind of attitude should people have when they open this door?
I think the view is to that you will to understand a different world, understand some information you are not familiar with. Even some information will make you feel what you believe is wrong. Yeah, that's I think if for some people has a too strong belief and unchangeable belief, this fellowship will not be useful for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in your mind, has the fellows exceeded those expectations for you?
You mean one fellow?
The ones that you've met, you know. Did you think that, you know, there's enough exchange and openness?
For myself, there are enough change, but I'm not quite sure about on other people.
So, any other last thoughts that you want to give to, or say to, perhaps for the new fellows, for the cohort 2? What other advice would you give them? Do you have any other thoughts?
Other thoughts about
giving them advice about what's other your Chinese fellows, for example, the ones who are about to go to India.
Chinese. Don't jump to conclusion. Right.
Okay. Thank you.